The grand halls of Versailles shimmered with golden light. Silk rustled, perfume filled the air, and laughter echoed through the gilded corridors. Here, in this world of opulence and indulgence, Marie Antoinette reigned as queen. She was beautiful, elegant, and wildly misunderstood. But the very people who once adored her would come to despise her. The cheers that greeted her arrival would turn into shouts of "Death to the Austrian." And one fateful morning, beneath the cold grey sky of the French Revolution, she would kneel before the guillotine, the blade poised to end her story forever. This is the tale of the queen who lost everything. She was born Maria Antonia Josefa Johanna, an Austrian princess, daughter of the mighty Empress Maria Theresa. From the moment of her birth, she was never truly her own. Her fate was sealed in ink and diplomacy, for a princess was not meant for love. She was meant for alliances. At just 14 years old, she was sent away from Austria, from her mother, from everything she had ever known. She was to marry the Dauphin of France, the awkward, shy grandson of King Louis XV, and someday become queen. The journey to France was a transformation. At the border, she was forced to strip herself of all things Austrian, her clothes, her servants, even her little dog. She stepped forward as Marie Antoinette, future Queen of France. But she was still just a child, and France was waiting. At 15, she married Louis Auguste, the Dauphin of France. At 19, she became Queen Marie Antoinette when her husband was crowned King Louis XVI. The people loved her at first. She was beautiful, fashionable, and full of life, a refreshing contrast to the stiff traditions of the French court. But soon, the whispers began. The king was weak, uninterested in ruling. And Marie Antoinette? She was young, restless, and hungry for pleasure. She escaped the rigid etiquette of Versailles, filling her days with masked balls, elaborate gowns, and moonlit gambling at secret salons. She built her own fantasy world, the Petit Trianon, a secluded estate where she played at being a simple shepherdess, far from the responsibilities of royalty. But outside the golden gates of Versailles, France was starving, and the people began to hate her for it. Rumors spread like wildfire. They called her Madame Deficit, blaming her for France's crumbling finances. They whispered that she bathed in milk, while peasants drank dirty water, that she threw lavish parties while mothers could not feed their children, and worst of all, that when told the people had no bread, she coldly laughed and said, "Let them eat cake." Did she ever say those words? No, but the truth no longer mattered. The people needed a villain, and Marie Antoinette was the perfect target. The queen who wore diamonds while they starved, the foreigner who cared nothing for France, and soon they would make her pay for it. It began as a murmur, a restless discontent. By 1789, it was a storm that could not be stopped. On October 5th, thousands of women, angry, hungry, desperate, marched on Versailles, demanding food and justice. They stormed the palace, dragging guards from their posts. The queen barely escaped with her life, fleeing through hidden corridors. By morning, the revolution had arrived at her doorstep. The royal family was forced from Versailles, taken to Paris under guard. And Marie Antoinette? She was no longer a queen, she was a prisoner. For 3 years, she watched as the monarchy crumbled. Her husband, King Louis XVI, was executed by guillotine in January 1793. And now, it was her turn. The Revolutionary Tribunal put her on trial. She was accused of crimes against France, of draining the treasury, of conspiring with foreign enemies. And then came the cruelest accusation of all. They claimed She had abused her own son, the young Dauphin. For the first time in all her suffering, Marie Antoinette broke down in tears. Even the women in the courtroom, who had once cursed her name, fell into silence. But it did not matter. Her fate had already been decided. She was sentenced to death. On October 16, 1793, at dawn, the guards came for her. She was dressed in a simple white gown, her once golden hair shorn away. They placed her in a rattling wooden cart, taking her through the streets of Paris, past the crowds who had once cheered her coronation but now screamed for her blood. Unlike her husband, who had gone to his death in a carriage, Marie Antoinette was given no such dignity. The people mocked her. She held her head high. At the scaffold, she climbed the steps alone. A priest whispered to her, "Have courage, madame." She turned to him and whispered back, "Courage? The moment when my troubles will end is not a moment to fear." As she stepped forward, she accidentally stepped on the executioner's foot. Her final words, "Pardon me, sir, I meant not to do it." And then the blade fell. The queen was no more. Marie Antoinette was not the monster the revolutionaries painted her to be. She was a young girl thrown into a world of power and politics, a pawn in a deadly game. She was a mother who loved her children, a woman who endured humiliation and suffering with grace. She never said, "Let them eat cake." She was not a heartless villain, nor was she a saint. She was human. And though she lost her throne and her head, her story still echoes through history. For hers is a tale of glory and downfall, of a woman who once wore a crown and met her fate with unshaken dignity.